Hey, Sonny here. Welcome to another lessons on Judas Priest, and we are going to cover all the rhythm parts for Electric Eye from the album Screaming For Vengeance. So first thing we're going to do is to cover the intro. So let me show you what the intro sounds like. Okay, so let's break it down. The first phrase goes like this. And as surrounded on the E minor scale, start on the second fret on the D string, not muted, and you mute and you play the open E string, and then 4th fret on the D string, mute again on the low E, and then D5, and then A3. So it goes like this. The next one is exactly the same thing to start with, but it ends on the A chord, which is open A string and 2nd fret of D. And then you do the same, and then after you play the A chord, instead of muting on the open E string, you mute on the open A string, but you're still doing the 2, 4, 5 on the D string. So it goes like this. So you mute A first, and then 2nd fret on the D, A, D4, open A mute, D5, and then B power chord, which is A2 and D4. So far we have this. And then next one, mute 2nd fret on the A string, and then D4, mute A, open A string, and then D5, and then D4 again. So the whole thing slowly from the top. We play the power chord at the 7th position, E power chord. Slide down. The E power chord is A7 and D9. We start over again. Now this last part is slightly different than the first time we did it. So instead of going from 5th fret on the D straight into the 4th fret on the D, you don't do that this time. This time you play you pivot back to the 2nd fret of A first. So the first time is, second time, back to the E power chord. So the whole thing a little faster. It sounds like this. Okay, and the intro continues, goes like this. Okay, before we get to that A chord, so let's talk about this right here first. That's when the singing starts. So right before the singing starts, it goes like this. So what I'm doing is I play the open E string, you mute twice, and then play the E power chord, which is A7, D9, G9. So, and then you mute one more time on the open E string. So the pattern is like this. Okay, so do that twice. The third time, you do the same thing, but you play the, instead of playing the E power chord, you play part of this D power chord. You play the 7th fret of D and G. And after you play that, you will play the 7th fret again, D and G, and then 9th fret of D and G. And I use my index finger playing the 7th fret of D and G, and I use my ring finger and my pinky play the 9th fret of D and G. So the whole thing goes like this slowly. If you break it up, it goes like this. Together. Alright. And the second time, you do the same thing on the E power chord. But it ends right there. So you'll mute, E power chord, mute 2 more times. And the E power chord. And you hold it there for a second, and then you go. You play the 7th fret of A and D string, slide up to 8th fret, back down to 7th fret, and then open D and G together, open string, and then play the 9th fret of D and G. Or you can just play the E power chord. You can play the A7 as well. So the whole thing goes like this, slowly. And then after that, you will do this one more time on the same thing we just played. Now the second time after you play the open D and G string, you don't go back to the E chord, you go to A chord. So, and then you do the same pattern. But this time, you go, you do the open D and G, and then you back to 2nd fret of D and G. So. So it's the same pattern we just did. It's this exact same pattern, but you do it a different note. So you go from and you do that 4 times. You don't do slide. You don't do that part like we did in the E chord. You just go. On the 4th time, you change again. You go, you play, and you go for the after you play the open D and G, you go to the E chord. Now this time, instead of playing the 7th position E, you play the open E, which is open E string, 2nd fret of A and D, and then you do the same pattern again. So this time you'll play open A and D, and then back to this 2nd fret of the A and D. So. Okay, you do that one more time. That's your second time. It ends on the second fret of A and D, and then you play the second fret of D and G. Slide up to the third fret of D and G, slide back down to second fret, and then open D and G, and back to E chord. Alright, so the whole thing slowly goes like this from the top now. So once we finish playing the on the E chord, and you go back to the intro, but instead of playing it, you just go 2, 4, 5 on the D, and third fret on the A, and you do the same thing again, 2, 4, 5 on the D, open A, 2, 4, 5 on the D again, and then D chord. The D chord is open D string, second fret of G, and third fret of B. And the next part is that part is 4, 5 on the D, second fret of G, and then B power chord, which is A2 and D4. Slide up. And you play 11th fret and 12th fret on the 11th fret of G and 12th fret on the B. So, and then it goes to the chorus part. So if you play a little faster from the top, from the intro to the whole verse, it goes like this. And that brings us to the chorus. The chorus part goes like this. What I'm playing is I play an A sus chord, which is open A string, second fret of D and G, and third fret on a B. You play the A sus and you play the A chord. Basically, you just lift up your ring finger. You're just borrowing second fret of D, G, and B together. And I play a G chord after that. The G chord I play the third fret on the low E string with my middle finger, with the bottom flash on my middle finger is blocking the A string so you won't hear that. And then you'll play together with open G and open D string. So what you hear is like this. So, and you play the E power chord, A7, D9, and then D power chord, A5, D7, and then back to the A sus A, G, do it again. So that's the chorus. You do that twice, and then go back to verse 2, and verse 2, verse 2 starts on the A, open A power chord. It's just like we did in the first verse. So. Exactly like with verse 1. Pre-chorus. Exact same thing. And back to chorus again. The chorus, this time you do this exact same thing I showed you. Second time ends on a B chord instead of G. The B chord is A2, D4, and G4. Once you end on a B chord, that's when you start on the solo, which I always show you. Again, when the solo starts on the 12th fret on the B string, so you know there's a B note, which is the exact same thing you're playing as the B chord. You're playing start on the B note. It ends on the G note, which the G is the B note is a major third of G, so they kind of all resolve together. So that's pretty much what we covered so far through the rhythm, through the solo. One thing I want to talk about is that on the beginning riff, that part right there I know is accurate when I watch Judas Priest play, because the hand don't move, it's staying in the same position. So I know that the G chord has to be the open D and G, because if you move the hand, the only way to play a G chord is to move your hand down to the 3rd fret. This part right here. But when I saw some of the older videos of Richie Faulkner play, the hand stays at the 7th position. So I know that. So it's all this 2 notes power chord thing there. And then and then I know he goes to the open E chord instead of back to the 7th position on the E chord. The second time he plays the open E again. When I watch the live video, his hand is up here, so I know that the E chord must be playing up here instead of down here. So that's how I pick out some stuff when I watch videos, watch live videos. I just pay attention where the hand is. Sometimes they don't show it. Most of the time they show the singer. They show Rob. So they don't show a whole lot of guitar player, which is regrettable. I wish they focused the camera onto more Glenn Tipton and KK Dining. But when they do that, you get a glimpse where the hand is positioned, and then you can figure it out, well, what notes is playing there. Because you can play the same note in different position. And where the hand is in the video will kind of give it away exactly sort of where it should be playing. So anyway, we'll stop here for now. We'll cover the rest in the second video on rhythm. Thanks for watching.